Welcome to the show, guys. Got an exciting one here for you. We're talking NFL Week 16, an important Week 16, NFL playoffs, fantasy football championships in some leagues. We're talking the studs and sucks at each position. Going to honor the studs, give them credit, and rip into the guys that crap the bed, the duds here, guys. The guys that sucked, the guys that cost you your fantasy football championships. We're going to rip into them. It's a very important episode, guys. One of the biggest of the year because it's very important that we talk about the guys that crap the bed as we get into next year because we go year round here. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe. We go year round. So it's good to be aware of who crapped the bed and let us down in these playoffs so we can project forward and not make the same mistake next year. So very important episode. Buckle up, strap in. Hope you guys had an amazing Christmas. I'm excited to dive in and rip into these guys. Now, if you have not done it yet, make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up. If you do the channel, this is the channel that actually helps you guys win. No copy and paste stuff. So hit that subscribe button. Starts and sits for NFL Week 17. If you're in the championships, drop your questions below. I'll try to get to as many as I humanly possibly can. And head on over to Hooters.com or download the app. The code you want to use is FFC20. That's Frank Charlie 20, guys. Save $10 on an order of 30 or more on takeout or delivery, guys. I'm dropping the link right here below on YouTube. Now is the time, guys, to order some food, guys, over the holidays. Order some, they got some football bundles going right now. Amazing food, wings. Great food, guys, during the game. Hooters.com, download the app. The code you want to use is FFC20. And even upon checkout, make sure you guys secure the 2023 Hooters calendar. Go secure that right now. Go order some Hooters. FFC20 is the code to save. Go do that right now. All right, guys, now let's dive into this episode here. Let's start off with the quarterbacks. Who did well? Who didn't do well? It's very important to address it. Quarterback, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, all having great Week 16's Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. And the reason I'm wearing an Eagles hat is I made the fantasy football championships in the Fantasy Football Cause League, which is full of celebrities, including my friend John Brotherton, who was on Fuller House Show, some other great actors and musicians on there. And I got to tell you, man, Minshew, I was debating because Hurts went down. Now, this league was actually drafted mid-season, so I ended up stacking A.J. Brown Hurts, and they've been really good to me. Hurts went down, obviously, with the shoulder strain, so Minshew was the guy that I ended up picking up. I was debating between Derek Carr and Minshew, and I couldn't bring myself to start Derek Carr, and sure enough, made the right decision. Minshew, 22.7 points, finishing 7th amongst quarterbacks, taking me to the Fantasy Football Championships in that league. Now, follow my story mode at Fantasy Football Counselor. If you want to see the details on this league, I dropped a link here below on YouTube, or just go to Instagram at Fantasy Football Counselor. Follow there for more details in the Fantasy Football Cause League. But again, I've got a fresh new Eagles hat. Minshew, A.J. Brown getting it done. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, and Trevor Lawrence to round out the top 10. Now, I just did a keeper episode where I am promoting Trevor Lawrence as the guy with some upside going into next year. And if you're into Dynasty Leagues, could be a solid keeper moving forward. Love myself some Trevor Lawrence. Okay, guys? Now, who crapped the bed at the quarterback position? We got to say this. Tua turned the ball over. I mean, what do you have? 3 interceptions, 10.4 points. Apparently, he's now dealing with concussion again. His head's hurting. I mean, this isn't good, man. Not good physically, not good for fantasy. Tua, 10.4 points. A player that a lot of people started going into their playoffs and screwed a lot of teams. Only 10.4 points. Again, 3 interceptions. And that's not good, especially if your league, is heavier on interceptions and they penalize them. Not good at all for Tua, okay? Justin Fields, only 9.86 points, but I was telling you this, with him, he had a tough matchup. He really did versus Buffalo. This was kind of to be expected, predicated on matchup, if you listen to my show, right? And Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert, I don't know what to tell you, man. I want to take ownership on this. Justin Herbert just not getting it done, crap in the bed, doing a lot of checkdowns, a lot of handoffs to Austin Eckler. A big-time letdown this year was Justin Herbert. I'm not trusting him next year. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just not. I thought he'd be an ace quarterback you can anchor this year. Big-time letdown, and nobody saw this, but Russell Wilson, the entire season, just terrible, getting blown out by the Rams, 51-14. Obviously, Hackett no longer there, which is the best thing to happen. And they needed a blowout near the end of the season when they know their season is done to get rid of Hackett. But again, he couldn't hack it, and maybe Russell Wilson will improve. Either way, I don't trust him. Now, Wilson could be good value next year. I still have to take a look. Either way, very, very hard to trust after what he did to people this season in fantasy and reality, right? Moving on to the running backs here. Cam Akers having himself a game. 3 touchdowns, man, 34.7 points. Saquon Barkley, the guy I told you to draft this year, having himself a game, 27.3 points. Leonard Fournette, James Conner, Austin Eckler, the guy I was wrong on, proving me wrong, getting it done, getting those rushing touchdowns, 24 points. Dante Foreman finally coming alive. I mean, he's been like hit or miss, literally. 22.5 points. Devin Singletary, Alvin Kamara, my guy Derrick Henry, and James Cook to round out the top 10. Again, we're projecting forward. Some of these guys could be viable next year, including James Cook. We'll have to see how the depth charts fall into play. That's why you got to make sure to subscribe, because we're rolling out 2023 content already. So make sure you guys are subscribed, all right? So who crapped the bed at the running back position? We got to talk about this guy, Josh Jacobs. I mean, all around, Derek Carr, the Raiders just completely crapped the bed. Josh Jacobs completely crapping the bed. 6 points. Unacceptable, guys. Miles Sanders, 6.1 points. He said he didn't care about your fantasy teams. Ends up fumbling the ball and losing the game. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you, man. He lost. It's because they lost the game to Dallas because of Miles Sanders and that fumble. 6.1 points. Absolutely disgusting here. So I would say Jacobs at 6 points is the suck of the week. But let me know in the comments who crapped the bed for you guys. Dalvin Cook, even 10.7 points. Really unacceptable for a guy that was drafted in the first round. Okay, moving on to the wide receivers here. CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Waddle, Kendrick Bourne, believe it or not, from New England, Isaiah Hodgins, Greg Dortch, Keenan Allen, and Jacoby Myers. Some weird names in there. Guys that really aren't consistent, guys that weren't drafted high ADP, getting it done. And this proves with wide receiver that you don't have to invest early in wide receivers, because there's so much depth and so much upside, so much youth, and so much, variety at the wide receiver position that you do not need to invest early in your NFL drafts, fantasy drafts. And that's why you can see a guy like, Kendrick Bourne here as a top 10 guy in your fantasy playoffs, right? And then you have guys that are studs that completely crap the bed that are higher draft capital. Amari Cooper, only 13.2 points. Christian Watson, I mean, what a wuss that guy is. I think he went out with a hip injury, just cannot be trusted. He was solid, mid to late season, but then crapped the bed. Mike Evans, 5.9 points, really unacceptable. Christian Kirk, 5.6 points. Guys like big name Stephon Diggs, 4.6 points. We're talking fantasy football championships here, guys. 4.6. Devontae Adams, 3.5 points. Really, really unacceptable. And I got to tell you, man, very, very disappointing for a lot of wide receivers. Let me know who is the suck of the week. I got to give it here to Devontae Adams, 3.5 points. As I predicted, the reason I told you to fade Adams this year was very simple. When Renfro and Waller come back, they're going to eat into that, right? The best thing that happened to Adams was the Waller and Renfro injury this year, because that's what made him viable throughout the season. But as soon as they came back, Waller, a touchdown last week, this week, Renfro, again, you can see exactly what I was projecting, that, Adams is not viable when those two guys are there. And sure enough, we're seeing it. 2 crappy weeks when you need him the most. Adams just not performing. At the tight end position, as usual, actually not as usual. Kelsey finished top 10 as usual, 17.3 points. But the guy that finished on top, and I had him in my league with Minshew and A.J. Brown, is Hawkinson, 35.9 points. He came alive. Tyler Higbee, George Kittle, all around the top 3 amongst tight ends. But the guys that crapped the bed, again, the suck of the week has to go to Mark Andrews with 7.5 points, a guy that was drafted in the second and third round with major upside. Again, big-time letdown this year is Mark Andrews, big time. But again, TJ Hawkinson, the stud of the week at the tight end position. So what did we learn this week? We learned that you have to make sure you wait on wide receiver, because we saw Adams and Diggs and Jamar Chase and a bunch of other guys, Mike Evans, just not perform where they should be. And these were high draft capital guys. And guess who finished at top? The guys I said to draft in round 1 and 2, Henry and Saquon, right? Even Eckler, who's a running back drafted early by the Chiefs, he ended up doing well. So those running backs, very few and far between, those workhorse guys, need to be coveted, holded, taken, and drafted early, right? Very important, guys, because, again, there's tons of depth at the wide receiver position. So if you guys want this No Sheep shirt, guys, I'm wearing the No Sheep shirt. Grab it, guys, under the store at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. I've also linked it below if you guys want it. I suggest you start representing the No Sheep mentality going into 2023, because that's how you win your leagues, all right, guys? So starts and sits questions below. If you have any for NFL Week 17, drop them, NFL Fantasy Week 17. Below, and drop it below. Who crapped the bed for you guys? How you guys doing? Did you make it? Did you fail? How'd you do? drop it below. Again, we're starting to roll out 2023 content, so make sure you guys are subscribed. Also, guys, one more thing. Head on over to prizepicks.com. Use code DFSLion and go enhance that game watching experience. Prizepicks.com. DFSLion is the code. Go enhance that game watching experience. Play some DFS with PrizePicks. DFS Line. They'll double your first deposit up to $100. Head on over there right now. Subscribe, thumbs up, guys, and I'm out. We'll talk soon.